Hello, dear friends, and welcome to our monthly astrology horoscope for April 2020. So, for obvious reasons, I'm recording at home. So, welcome to my living room. Apologies for the messy situation. The lighting is not perfect, but we are here, and that's the most important thing. We are going to talk about the astrology, the aspects during April, and also what can we do in this crazy situation. So how we can benefit or how we can move through this. And I really wish I could tell that April will be an amazing month and all of this is gonna disappear, but I'm afraid I cannot say that because it's just not what I see. April is gonna be a specific month. The transit sun will be in Aries most of the time, and it will square Jupiter and Pluto. After that, the sun will move to Taurus. It will square Saturn, and at the end of the month, in the last part of the month, let's say, there will be a conjunction with Uranus. So all of those aspects can bring some kind of stress, some kind of blockages, things that we need to overcome. Mercury is going to make also some of those aspects, and most importantly, conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto, which is a major one. So even though we cannot promise that, the month will be all about roses and flowers, I still believe that those are the moments when we can really grow. In astrology, in the natal astrology, but even in the predictive part, we know very well that real growth and success and real changes happen on challenging aspects. Normally we are used to think that the trines, the sextiles, they are amazing, they are very nice, and you can be extremely happy and successful, but there is also a big chance that we can miss those aspects if we are too passive or sometimes uninitiative, just because we are not really forced to do something significant. And sometimes it might happen that people with amazing charts don't really make a significant growth in their life because it's just too easy, because there is nothing which pushes them. And the same may happen in prediction. You see some amazing positive aspects, but you're not forced to do anything. So eventually you don't grow. And at the end of the day, it's all kind of being the same. So what we can get from this situation is real growth and real change. And trust me, my work, it's all about people, consulting people. And I know that one of the most charged words and one which I hear most often is change. Either people are too afraid of the change or they crave the change. Usually it's kind of rare to be neutral. Now you're either terrified or afraid, or you kind of try to avoid the change, or you anticipate and wait and you're excited. So what we really have here is an opportunity for a drastic change. And yes, maybe it doesn't happen the way we want it to be, and no one wants it that way because it's so beyond our control. But those are the moments when we can do drastic changes in our life. And yes, for the most part of it, we are going to be kind of forced, or we just have to do it. But we may also do it intentionally. And the first thing that we should start with is the personal change, to take control over our minds, because that's always the first step. With all of those, well, let's call it instability, with all of this craziness, unpredictable stuff happening around us, the easiest thing is to fall into this trap and feel powerless, feel lost, confused, scared, panicked, you name it. Or maybe you're angry, wondering why other people are freaking out about it. Wherever you are in this scale, probably you're not being neutral. So it all triggers us in one way or another. And the first thing that we can do is take control over our minds, our thinking, and that's how we eventually can grow and find new ways and new solutions. So whether we want it or not, it is time for a change. And let me walk you through each of the aspects, the most important, the major aspects during April. I have prepared a special presentation for you. Let me share my screen. All right, here we go. Okay, yeah, here we go right now. So, as I said, one of the key aspects during April is the conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto. A very rare aspect, which happens approximately once in 12, 13 years. And it shows some major changes. One of the things that Jupiter and Pluto in combination talk about is politics. In the birth chart, we know that this is the aspect, one of the major aspects for politicians or people working in this area. And also this conjunction right now is happening in Capricorn, which is a sign that's socially oriented. So having this conjunction during April is one indication that probably there will be some significant transformations in the political area when it comes to government structures, how we lead people, or how the leaders of, on a higher level lead others. But on a personal level, I would also consider that as how are we handling with all of those rules, all of those boundaries that now we have to respect, and also how we can grow. Jupiter really is the planet of growth, of expansion, and Pluto can bring incredible intensity. Pluto can make things extreme. So we may really focus passionately on growing something or finding new ways to handle with things, or literally teaching ourselves, coaching ourselves, if you will, to do something in a different way. So this is a major aspect that talks about transformation. The other important thing, by the way, I haven't put this here, but it could be also important, is that we are, from the beginning of April, we have already passed the Mercury shadow period, the Mercury zone. You remember, like, how long was that? Maybe a month ago, we had Mercury retrograde, and sometime after that, we're still in this shadow zone. So I don't want to get too much in details, but after the 29th of March, if we have to be extremely precise, we are getting out of this cycle. So things can change. We might have the opportunity to step on a new level. So enough with those reassessments or handling with the past situations. Let's look ahead now. And that can be something positive as well. As I said, the Sun has some major squares with Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn, conjunction with Uranus. So it seems like we have to adapt ourselves to some kind of changes through the month. And also Pluto is turning retrograde. This is not like Mercury going retrograde. It's important because at that moment of the shift, Pluto is stationary. So for a couple of days before and after that, the energy is extremely strong. So that's why I'm putting this, so that we can be prepared for this transition. Now let's go through the most positive and challenging days. And here I also added something new, intense days. Those are the days which is kind of difficult to define whether they're positive or challenging, but for sure we can say they are intense. Or sometimes those are days when we have a combination, like something like a positive aspect and a challenging happening on the same day. So it's hard to define, you know, and from one side they could be positive, from another they could be challenging. So we begin with the 3rd of April. There are two major events happening. The first one is the conjunction between Mercury and Neptune in Pisces. And this aspect from one side can bring some kind of lack of concentration or confusion when it comes to communication, when it comes to intellectual work or planning or even learning new things. In this situation, probably we can skip the traveling part because at least for now, we kind of have a ban on it. But behind that, we really need to be careful with the planning stuff and everything that requires more logic. On the positive side, this is an aspect that can help us to be more creative, to have like new ideas, to deepen our intuition, to listen to it, and also to, you know, one of the important things is compassion. I think that during those times, compassion is very important. First of all, compassion about ourselves and how we feel, compassion towards other people who most of them are also going through some kind of change or maybe even something more serious. So compassion is very important. And also the desire to help other people, to be willing to support others. And I can tell you what I'm doing right now. I am offering backflower remedies for people who live nearby. And I am sending those for free. And this is my way to contribute, to do something. I don't want money for it. I don't want people to give me anything. I'm just doing it because I feel the inner need to help and support others. So find your way, how you can help other people. Maybe you can help them with support or doing something concrete or giving them an idea. It's different for the different people, but find a way to contribute, to help others. I think that that's one of the major lessons in this situation. So back to the 3rd of April, we also have Venus ingressing Gemini, and this can bring changes when it comes to relationships, when it comes to how we connect with others, how we express our feelings. Generally, Venus in Gemini brings more variety. It can be more interesting, more exciting. People can be also a little bit more detached from emotions, not being so stuck in their emotional state. And, you know, there is flexibility, there is opportunity also to intellectualize our emotions or to find some logic or to kind of try to explain logically why we feel in this way, what can we do to change it. So it is an aspect that can bring overall change in the emotional atmosphere and in relationships also. After that, we get to the 4th of April and the most important aspect during the month, conjunction between Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn. This conjunction is on the 25th degree. So first of all, check, do you have any planets or even cusps of houses around the 25th degree in mostly in the cardinal signs, so Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, and Aries, because that would be like a major impact on you. And also in your natal chart, do you have any aspect between the two planets? It could be conjunction, square, trine. karmic aspect, creative aspects, and don't neglect the minor aspects as well. If you have any aspect between Jupiter and Pluto in your chart, this transit aspect will be more important for you. So as we said, this is mostly about new type of rules. It's about probably political changes, government changes, but also finding ways to expand, to grow under those new circumstances. And the other aspect we have on the 4th is a trine between Venus and Saturn. The trine is in the air sign, so it could be an interesting aspect when it comes to communication or intellectual work or ideas. The aspect is especially positive for negotiations, for having also more stability when it comes to emotional states or how we connect with others in relationships. And also it requires more stability. So overall, it can be productive when it comes to work and business, but also in finding ways to express ourselves. Then on the 7th of April, we have a full moon. So of course, this is always important. The full moon is in Aries and Libra, and the major themes are me and the other person. And it means how we communicate with others, how we express ourselves, how do we work in partnership with someone else, and what needs to be changed in those areas. Also, this could be about finding the balance, and in those crazy times, of course, this is one of the most important things. How can we find our inner balance and not, depending so much on what's happening around us? So how can we find this inner peace? And this full moon brings some tension also because there is a square between Mars and Uranus at the same time on the 7th of April. And this is a stressful aspect. There could be some kind of unpredictable changes or some kind of impulsive reactions or anger which is expressed in a very unhealthy way, let's call it. And also, this is an aspect which can allow us to make a drastic shift, change our approach when it comes to money and finances, because Uranus is in Taurus, when it comes to social groups and causes, because Mars is in Aquarius, and overall any type of community work, any type of organization with people. So there is some kind of stress related to this full moon. We cannot overlook this, but there is also support. Mercury is having two positive aspects at the same time with Jupiter and Pluto. And this one can really help us to be more creative, to be more intuitive, to look deeper into ourselves, and also to find our own answers. Jupiter can bring you new type of understanding, or this can also be a period of learning, understanding things from a different perspective. So it is a nice one, and it can help us maybe to find some answers through this storm. Then on the 11th of April, Mercury will ingress Aries, and at the same time we have sextile with Saturn in Aquarius. So communication changes, our way of thinking can change. We may tend to be more logical. We may have less problems with concentration or confusion. On the other side, we may also express our thoughts and ideas more directly and openly, probably not in the most harmonious way. We can be more impulsive in this, but the Saturn aspect can help us also to bring some kind of structure in your plans, or when it comes to how you communicate or how you plan things, and it's quite difficult, to rely on some stability right now. But again, it depends on our own approach and how we look at things. So, nice aspect to plan something business related, to even have some business negotiations, and overall to bring more structure when it comes to your ideas. Then on the 14th of April, we have the first square, the Sun with Pluto. And this aspect can really bring some kind of power struggles or some kind of tension or feeling like we are losing control or a very strong desire to have control. And overall, we may feel misunderstood from the groups we are part of. We might feel pushed to do something. And sometimes it brings also more drama than necessary. So let it be. Show some compassion towards yourself and your feelings. Try to detach a little bit and not to dramatize whatever is happening. And as everything else, it will also go away. But on the positive side, let me remind you that those challenging aspects are the ones that can bring real growth, real change, real focus. So let's use it constructively. On the very next day, the 15th of April, the next square comes between Jupiter and the Sun. It's all about change of goals, change of our worldview, of our own perspective, and finding some new goals. I think that during those times, we really need to reconsider our goals. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to put them on hold, because very often, especially when we have to work harder for something, and the meaningful goals usually require hard, consistent, long-term work. And very often when something is shaking us, we use it to justify why we are not so focused on that for the moment, and we kind of excuse ourselves. So let's not do this. Let's keep being focused on our goals, especially if your goals are long-term goals, like for the next year, the next 5 years. Don't let yourself lose focus about the important things. And during those times, it's natural, it's normal, but let's put some efforts to do it in the opposite way, to put even more focus, to work extra hard, and to really allow ourselves to grow through this experience. Okay. Then we get to the 18th of April, and there are two positive aspects on this day. Mercury in the middle with Mars and with Venus at the same time. Mercury with Venus in a positive aspect can bring some harmonization in relationships, and especially in communication, when it comes to connections with people. For negotiations, also a nice aspect. And Mercury with Mars, first of all, can help us to think faster, find solutions, be creative, but also take action. So don't just think about it, try to plan it, try to do whatever you can at the current moment, and be creative, find those answers. Then on the 19th of April, the Sun will ingress Taurus. And that, my friends, can bring us more stability, I hope more calmness, but also can help us to focus on practical things, focus on our health, our bodies, our connection with nature, in the environment around us, and to appreciate what we really have. So the Sun, as usual, will be for a month in Taurus, and this is a time to get more concentrated, more focused, patient, consistent. Try not to be as stubborn as the Taurus sometimes could be. and also focus on something practical. And self-care is a great thing also to work on. On the 21st of April, we have a square between the Sun and Saturn, and this aspect can bring some kind of restrictions, some kind of barriers, or some kind of boundaries that we have to respect. Saturn is in Aquarius, so it's all about communities, social things, ideals. So probably we would still have to be kind of isolated from each other, respect the distance, and at the same time focus on something practical and something concrete. So it is what it is. If you are ready to work extra hard, then this aspect can allow you to be even more consistent. So as I always say, it really depends on how we use the energy. Right after that, on the 22nd of April, we have a new moon in Taurus. And this is a new beginning, which can allow us to define some new goals, to focus on something new, to grow it, to expand it. And my advice would be focus on practical things, on things that you can measure, also things that can help you to be more grounded, take care of your body, and just go through it by finding the peace inside of you. But self-care, I think, will be very important through those times. After that, on the 25th of April, Mercury is having a square with Pluto. And at the same time, Pluto is turning retrograde. So what it means is that we have to be extra careful when we communicate, when we connect with others, when we express ourselves. People can be more suspicious, there could be trust issues. There could be also something like paranoia. Unfortunately, this is the exact aspect, one of the main aspects which can bring this paranoia, or like, feeling threatened or thinking that we are threatened. And whatever comes, just don't let your mind control you. You are the one who should be in charge of your mind. So please don't forget this. And in communication, when you connect with others, be extra careful, because there could be confrontations, power struggles, misunderstandings, and yeah, it is challenging. The positive side, by the way, is that such an aspect can bring extra focus, can make you very passionate about certain idea. Or if you are ready to commit and work on yourself, it is also an amazing aspect. On the following day, the 26th, Mercury is having the other square, which is with Jupiter. So change of plans, change when it comes to our priorities. Probably we have to redefine those priorities. Try not to lose yourself in the small details and to overlook the really important things. At the same time, try to be present and not to live too much in the future. Those are like two major variations of this aspect, and make some changes. The other aspect, which is like, screaming about change, is this conjunction between the Sun and Uranus aspect, which can help us to make drastic transformations. First of all, starting with some personal transformations, also to look at things from a different perspective, to think about the future, to think about what we can change when it comes to resources. In the financial area, there could also be some major transformations, and also lots of unpredictable stuff. Uranus loves to surprise us, so definitely prepare yourself for some surprises. The 27th of April, Mercury will ingress Taurus, so more stability when it comes to communication, ideas. Our ideas may actually require more time to be implemented. And it's time for some practical solutions. to think about, you know, in a very rational, very grounded, very, very stable way. And it's interesting that right after that, on the 28th of April, Mercury is having a square with Saturn. So there could be some kind of issues in communication, in connection with others. Some plans could be delayed, or something may require extra hard work or extra patience. And it's just an aspect that can, you know, provoke us to be more negative, more pessimistic. So don't let yourself go there. And if that happens, just remind yourself that you are in control of your mind. It's not the mind who controls you. Don't ever forget this. And such an aspect can help you to be extra focused when it comes to hard work. So if you are committed to it, then definitely go there. And the very last aspect for the month on the 30th is conjunction between Mercury and Uranus. Also time for changes, for new ideas, some new insights, original approach, some kind of surprises which obviously are unpredictable, and also more creativity. But this is an aspect that can also provoke tension and lack of harmony in communication. So be extra careful with that, and instead try to be creative and try to work on your mind, transform your mind. And with that, my friends, we covered April, the most important astrology aspects during April. So please, please don't let yourself be controlled by this panic. I know it seems like it's very scary, but we have been through this. Maybe not we personally, but humanity has been through such experiences, and sooner or later they all end. So it's an interesting time to live in. It's a scary time to live in, and that's okay to admit it. But try to do whatever you can. So try to do the best work that you can. If it's time for a change, then do this change, and definitely work on yourself. It's one of the greatest times to really put the focus more on your mind, overcome certain things. And I am there for you if you need my help. You can check the links in the description. You can go to my website, MarStrars.net, and contact me from there. I'm working, I am available for you, and it really is one of the greatest times to slow down, to reconsider our goals, our values, and to also work on our minds. So I hope that all of the craziness will go away soon. I wish you all to be in peace with yourself, to be patient, but also to find ways to grow and to do the best that you can during those times. Take care, and I will see you next month.